You got the raise on a Thursday. Not life-changing, but enough that for about 48 hours, you felt lighter. You opened the payroll email twice, just to look at the new number. You texted your partner something like, "Okay, this actually helps." And to be fair, it did. A little. The apartment got upgraded. The old car with the sticky door handle got traded in. You stopped checking the price before ordering delivery. Started paying for the parking garage instead of walking from the cheaper lot 3 blocks out. Nothing reckless, nothing dramatic. Nothing that would make a financial expert on cable news point at your life and call you irresponsible. And yet, somehow, 18 months later, you're standing in your kitchen, phone in one hand, fridge open for no reason, staring at your checking account and thinking a thought that should not be possible given how much more you make now. Why does this still feel exactly the same? Here's what almost nobody sees while it's happening. The raise didn't disappear. It got converted into a more expensive version of normal. My name is Zach, and I spend way too much time running the math on why people who earn decent money still feel financially pinned down. If you've ever looked at your salary, looked at your life, and wondered why the gap between those two things still feels weirdly small, this one is for you. Because the trap isn't overspending in some dramatic, obvious way. The trap is that your life gets better just fast enough to keep you needing every dollar you make. Let me show you what I mean. Meet Evan and Maya. Evan is 36, project manager at a healthcare software company in Charlotte, makes $94,000 a year, started around 63 in his late 20s. Normal promotions, normal raises, normal doing all the right things career arc. He's married, his wife works in marketing. Combined household income, about $152,000.
Maya is 35, senior operations analyst in Columbus, $89,000, started around 61. Similar trajectory, similar decade. No inheritance, no startup jackpot, no uncle with a trust fund and strong opinions about real estate. From the outside, Evan looks like the one winning. Nicer rental townhouse, compact SUV with a $612 monthly payment, more takeout, better vacations. His life has the visual texture of success. If you ran into him at a brewery on a Saturday, you'd assume things were going well. Maya still drives a paid-off 2014 Civic, stayed in a reasonably priced apartment long after her friends started asking when she was going to upgrade. She cooks at home most weekdays, and every raise she gets, part of it is rerouted automatically into her 401k, her Roth IRA, and a brokerage account before her lifestyle gets a vote. Same generation, similar income, similar raises, very different futures. And the gap isn't income, it's what happened to the raises before they ever had a chance to become assets. Here's where the math starts getting uncomfortable. A $5,000 raise sounds meaningful until taxes take their cut and the actual number hitting your checking account is closer to $300 a month. And $300 a month? That is exactly the kind of money that disappears without putting up a fight. It becomes a nicer apartment that's only $340 more. Better parking because the cheap lot is miserable in the rain. Delivery twice a week because work got busy and cooking started to feel like one more task on the list.
3 new subscriptions, a gym upgrade, better flights, because you're in your 30s now and middle seats feel like punishment. A car that feels more like something a person at your salary should be driving. Now, notice what none of this is. It's not reckless. It's not stupid. It's not a luxury spiral worthy of a cautionary documentary. It's just adulthood, slightly upgraded. And that is exactly why lifestyle inflation is so dangerous. It feels like finally saying yes to things you used to skip. It feels like making life a little easier after years of being careful. It feels like relief. It feels like progress, which is why most people never notice the moment progress quietly turns into overhead. And once those upgrades stop feeling special and start feeling normal, the raise is gone for good. Let's make that concrete. Say over the course of a few years, your life creeps up in totally respectable ways. Rent rises by $300 because you moved somewhere brighter and quieter. Car costs jump by $250 because the old one was getting unreliable. Food and convenience spending climbs by $150 because you're busy and, honestly, tired. Subscriptions and app creep tack on another $80. Better weekends, better clothes, better little comforts, another $100. That's $880 a month, more than $10,000 a year. And that is what makes lifestyle inflation so destructive. It rarely comes from one insane decision. It comes from 5 or 6 perfectly normal ones, stacking on top of each other, until your future starts quietly losing ground. Now run the opportunity cost. That same $10,000 a year invested at 8% for 20 years becomes roughly $494,000. Over 30 years, about $1.22 million. A better apartment might feel like a quality of life upgrade. Mathematically, it might also be a 7-figure delay. But here's where it gets worse, and this is the part most people never think about. Every extra dollar you permanently add to your lifestyle does 2 things at once. It lowers how much you can invest today, and it raises how much you need to be free tomorrow. Under the 4% rule, every extra $10,000 in annual spending requires about $250,000 more invested to sustain it. So you didn't just raise your spending, you raised the price of your freedom. That line matters. So let me say it differently. You are not just buying nicer monthly habits. You are buying a later version of freedom. This is why richer-feeling lives so often produce poorer long-term outcomes. And this is where savings rate becomes the whole story. The U.S. personal savings rate has hovered around 4 to 5% recently. Many advisors recommend 15. But if you want real flexibility before traditional retirement age, 20 to 30% is where the math starts behaving differently. Save 10% of your income, and financial independence can take 50 years or more. Save 25%, and that drops closer to 30. Save 50, and now you're in the 15 to 20-year range. The difference between saving 8% and saving 25% is not acute optimization for spreadsheet people. It's the difference between needing your job indefinitely and having actual leverage while you're still young enough to use it. Go back to Evan and Maya. Evan captured almost none of his raises, contributed enough to get the employer match, which is good, better than nothing, but the rest? Absorbed into the increasingly expensive machinery of a better normal. Maya did something that looked less impressive in real time and far more impressive a decade later. She didn't deprive herself. She just made sure part of every raise survived long enough to become an asset. That's the gap. Not intelligence, not hustle, not crypto, not a side business selling digital templates to strangers on Instagram. Just how much of each raise lived long enough to compound. Let me slow down here, because data doesn't capture what this actually feels like. It feels like getting a raise and still checking your bank account before ordering groceries. It feels like hearing a weird sound in your car and immediately translating it into a number you probably don't want to know. It feels like your life looking more polished, more adult, more put together, while your nervous system still reacts to money like one bad month could tip the whole thing over. It feels like saying, we're doing fine, and technically being right, but never quite enough right to stop worrying. Your rent is higher, your car is nicer, your dinners are better. And yet, if the HVAC dies, or your dog needs emergency surgery, or your company announces a reorg with that weirdly cheerful email tone, your chest gets tight anyway. Your life is nicer, it just isn't safer. And that's why this trap is so hard to see from the inside. Consumer culture doesn't market lifestyle inflation as a problem. It markets it as adulthood, as reward, as finally living like the person your LinkedIn profile suggests you are. Social comparison makes holding the line feel like falling behind. Monthly payment math makes expensive decisions look manageable. And the market doesn't need you to be reckless. It only needs you to keep redefining normal. Let's stack this inside a real household budget, because the numbers tell a story the feelings can't. A couple making $145,000 combined might take home around $8,700 a month after taxes and retirement contributions. Sounds solid. Sounds like they should feel comfortable. Now subtract. Housing, $2,450. 2 car payments, $610 and $410. Insurance, $280. Groceries, $700. Dining out and delivery, $450. Student loans, $420. Phones, internet, utilities, $420. Subscriptions, apps, gym, $220. Travel fund, $250. Miscellaneous convenience and shopping, $350. That's over $6,500, gone. Before irregular life even shows up. Before the wedding gift. Before the tire replacement. Before the copay. Before the flight home for a funeral. Before December starts behaving like December. They are not broke. They are not irresponsible. They are not a punchline about avocado toast. But they're not building much margin either. They're not accelerating. Their income rose, but their freedom didn't. So what do you actually do with this? First, audit your last 3 raises. Not emotionally, mathematically. Where did the money go? Which parts became assets, and which parts became fixed costs that now need to be fed every single month. Second, automate future raises before your lifestyle touches them. Bump the 401k. Set the Roth contribution. Auto transfer into a brokerage or high-yield savings account. Decide in advance that at least half of every raise belongs to your future self. Let the decision happen before the temptation does. Third, be brutally cautious with fixed costs. Housing and cars do the most damage because they convert raises into obligations. A nice dinner is a moment. A car payment is a relationship, one that shows up on the first of every month whether you're in the mood or not. And finally, redefine what progress actually looks like. Progress isn't just a nicer life on the surface. It's a stronger life underneath. More margin, more optionality, less dependence on the next paycheck, more ability to absorb a bad month without letting it become a bad year. The goal is not to stop enjoying your life. The goal is to make sure your raises improve your balance sheet, not just your monthly expenses. Go back to that person in the kitchen, the one standing there, fridge open, phone glowing, checking account staring back, wondering why more income still doesn't feel like relief. The problem isn't that they failed. The problem is that the raise never had a chance. It got absorbed by a better normal before it could compound into anything stronger. They weren't reckless. They were participating in a trap so socially rewarded, it barely even looks like a trap. And that is what makes lifestyle inflation so effective. It doesn't make you feel broke all at once. It makes you feel almost fine. For years. The raise was supposed to buy freedom. Instead, it bought a more expensive version of stuck. The real flex isn't upgrading every time your income rises. It's keeping enough of the raise that your future starts paying you back. You don't build wealth when your income goes up. You build wealth when your lifestyle doesn't rise fast enough to catch it.